presentation, Andre, and hello to everyone globally. Let's take a look on what we came with framework that helps our existing telco growth and also is helping the new telcos to hop on and growth really fast. So Aura is B2B2C or B2B2B a product, right? So that basically with revenue sharing model makes us a partners with the telcos. We are not aiming for the share of wallet, share of the budget from the telcos. So we are considering us not in a relationship of vendor and the client, but really we are trying to build a relationship of growth and the business development, because the new revenues for the telcos are the revenues for us. So we are really willing to drive the growth on a telco side. And this brings us to the twofold approach, where we, on one side, are focusing on this relationship with the telco. So we call it telco-centric. And then we also are helping the telcos to growth in the field of the cybersecurity, especially from the segment of residential, SOHO, and SMBs, where for many of the telcos, it is the new area, cybersecurity, that have great potential of a growth. And we are helping our telco customers to understand the end customers through the customer journeys, really detailed customer journeys. In this part, we will focus more on that first B2B2C or telco-centric approach. And this customer journey, I hope, will be one of the other topics that we'll be discussing here, because it's really interesting, and we have expert that is elaborating those customer journeys. In telco-centric, we are helping telcos not after they signed with us, but we are even helping them during the late stages of the sales process. We are helping them with the vision or potential of a cybersecurity to really understand how much money can be generated over there. We are also helping them with a business case modeling. We are helping them with positioning and go-to-market strategies. We're doing go-to-market workshops even before the launch. And then in the next phase, our CSM is supporting when the customer is signed during the deployment and launch of the service. Over there, we have a launch checklist among the assets that we are providing. We are finalizing the go-to-market and positioning, pricing, and user pricing with the telcos. And then there is the longest stage, and it's growth stage, where we are aiming to grow from 0% penetration to the 50+% penetration. Usually that growth stage is taking 2 to 4 years. In the 4 years, definitely we are aiming to reach those 50% plus penetrations. And for that, as Andre said, we have developed the framework. We call it maturity model. And it's really just set of the actions that we have seen that are really working and are successful on telcos that already launched with us. And so we are trying to replicate them and provide a really detailed view on those actions and how to execute them. But also this bottom part and customer-centric, customer journeys, producing quite nice number of the assets that we then all are going to compile in deep dive guidelines or materials, those growth assets. Then for that, we also provide the summary, or for easier orientation, we are providing our product management guideline together with the marketing. So it's really easy to navigate through the different areas and different issues that on challenges that particular telcos can have. So focusing right now in this presentation on this telco-centric and especially maturity model, the growth. What is behind there? What is behind the scenes? To understand it, we understand, especially with opt-in, many our customers, many telcos are starting with 0% penetration, and we are trying to get to those nice double-digit 45% plus penetration. And we understand that in each and every level, there is different set of activities that should be done. And for example, you can see on a maturity level 0, if you just position the service as yet another value-added service that is listed, but it's not a focus, you are hardly go to reach above 5% of the penetration. On the other side, if you're already above 45%, most likely the security is is in your core proposition, and you have elaborated cybersecurity vision, and you are basically using the cybersecurity and our service as enabler for it in communication and in your all offerings. So there are 4 growth areas that we are focusing on that are really, really important for us in this framework. First one is service positioning and service proposition. This is important because we see that the telcos that have a strong vision for the cybersecurity can also internally process and schedule and execute the activities much faster. I can compare it to broadcasting, TV broadcasting. Some time ago, when I was working in a telecom, there was this new area or new business that the telcos were approaching, and it was IPTV, right? So it was a business of TV broadcasters, and for the telcos, it was really successful 15 to 20 years when they were generating quite nice revenues out of this new business. And at the beginning, definitely it was questionable whether to do it, whether not to do it, how to position it. But again, at the end, almost all the telcos all over the world were offering it, and there was a know-how that was possible to share to be really successful and really fast in deploying it. So it's really, really important to think about the positioning of the security service. Then we have a sales enablement. Security, as such, is not a pull product or service; it's push product. We understand that it have to be pushed by the salespeople in order to be sold, because we know that customers are feeling the need for the security. They are even willing to pay for it, but actually they are somehow hesitant to do any steps towards it, right? So we have to provide it to them, even though our activation is seamless. It's no installation, no updates. That means still somebody have to do the first, let's say, sales pitch to the end customers in order for them to realize and then hop on the service. So sales enablement is really important. Then PR and marketing. As I said, it is usually the new era for the telcos, and you need to provide the trust to the customer that you as a telco are able to do so. And for that, you have to make good marketing and PR communication. And then it's relationship management. Any successful project in telco, even our security service, needs support not only on the product side, but all across the divisions in a telco, and then also up to the executive management. So our aim is to gain this support and have a champions across all the divisions, and also have a sponsor on the level of the board or board -1. And that, we believe, is really helping to execute those activities that we suggest really seamless and make them effective. So in each area, there are different activities that you can execute, right? And we are ranking it as ability to drive the business, right? So in a service proposition or product proposition, if you position it as a value-added service, probably it's not zero ability to drive the business, but not that much. But again, as I said, if you position it strategically and it's part of your offering, then really you can use it as a differentiator on the market, and then probably there's a much higher ability to drive the business. For the sales enablement, as I said, activities that are really basic is to have the training, sales trainings, and motivation in the sense of bonus schemes for those sales agents. There's just the basics, and then on the higher maturity levels, you can add additional channels, whether it's internal one. For example, you are selling also to your second brands through the MVNOs. You are also using field technicians for selling. We have nice examples where this was really successful. Or even you can use a third-party service as a partner insurance company that we seems working. Then marketing and PR, as I said at the beginning, you may just think about using your internal communication channels as a SMS and an email. But in order to be 100% sell or market the business, you need to focus on really omni-channel marketing. You have to have this content marketing that is really helpful in a mid to long term to bring the awareness and position the telco as a cybersecurity company, and is building the trust, what is essential for offering any security services. And then, as I said, relationship. We don't just want to have champions on a product level, but we need to have support, and we have to have a strong sponsor on the board level. Okay, how does it look? How we work with all telcos that we already sign up? We are evaluating where they are in this framework, which areas they need to develop more, and which areas they are probably over the average. And then, for example, this seems that is really well positioned because they are doing activities already above the current maturity level. So we are expecting, and we are planning with this particular telco, that they will increase their growth from roughly 0.6% month-over-month growth of penetration to above 1%. So it will really will speed up the penetration. Okay, what is it exactly in a detail? How we do it? We have this nice table where you again have the areas, different maturity levels, and then you have in each box you have set of the checkboxes. The checkboxes are actually the activities that you can execute inside. And again, we are providing the recommendations. At the end, it's up to telco which out of those sets of activities they decide to do in the next quarter, or regarding the yearly planning they are aiming for the next year. And most of those activities, they also have this deep content. So, for example, if we are talking about trainings or content management, we are trying to bring also the experts that are able to communicate to the experts on the telco side. So it's not the CSM that is having all the know-how, but the CSM is holding the relationship, and then if it's needed, an activity is planned, he brings on board the particular expert that then is discussing with the expert on the telco side. So execution on the telco side is much more seamless. So in total, as of now, we have roughly 50 plus those activities or checkboxes as a best experience that are really proven to drive the business. And of course, this model is not static. So if you will see anything that is working on some market, then we will provide it in here. And on our quarterly business reviews, we will introduce, okay, this is the new activity you can join, you can plan it to execute. Okay, so how it might look, for example, in sales, the telco will decide that they want to execute improved training for the sales force, and with ambition to train with a particular quarter more than 90% of the sales staff. Then again, we will have deep content for it, the guidelines for the most effective sales trainings, and we can provide it. Another thing that we, for example, we are preparing is content marketing, where we want to prepare for the telcos for the first year content calendar with the topics for the whole year, and also some guidance how for the distribution of that content to the which channel, what budgets they should prepare. So it's then much more easier for the expert on online marketing in telco to take these assets and basically implement them, so they don't need to spend the time by first getting the knowledge about the topics and understanding what they should prepare and communicate. Why I believe it does matter is because, as I said, this growth phase can take 2 to 4 years, but you can go and hop on the fast lane. When we can see it might take even 1 to 3 or 2 years when you are executing those activities and you are really proactive. So we have some telcos that are already growing on this fast lane. For others, basically we are going step by step. Sometimes we are ahead with the activities compared to the actual maturity, but it just sets the target. So it's starting to grow, and we see the accelerated growth of penetration also among those that are on the slow lane. So why does it also is important is because we are aiming to bring the new revenues for the telco, because the new revenues for telco is revenues for us. And the sooner you capture the market, then you are better able to position yourself as a security vendor. So right now, roughly around 0.6 is average growth of penetration month over month. But you can see we have some big telcos already growing 1%, and some smaller telcos that are even able to do 2% month over month of a penetration, and in particular campaigns, even 3% a month over month. So if somebody asks how to grow 3%, we have an answer, because we have exact telcos that are growing that piece in consecutive month. So it's not just one campaign for 1 month, but it's really long-term success. And we are also understanding, based on the maturity, there are different players. For example, this big telco, in regards of penetration, they are above 50%. And on the right graph, you can see we are not expecting much of growth from them, because they're already above the 50%. And we are more focusing on churn prevention activities with them, or increasing the value of the service. For example, adding additional features, security layers, such as identity data protection. But then we can have, or for the new telcos that are really having ambitions, so ambitions entrant, they are planning the really high growth, about 1% month over month, and it's supported by the set of the activities that we recommend them. So they're able to jump to those maturity levels quite faster. Why now? Is because you can differentiate on your market by providing the security. You can see on a network level, you can at the end be in this classical network experience, winner or co-winner of all of those, because they're just the basics. But then on the top of the connectivity, you can provide the security. I think it's natural extension, and it's also preventing you from being a dumb pipe or bit pipe, because the security that we are providing is definitely smart, it's your branded, and it's something that only you can do without any installation and activation for your customers. And as I said, compared to the IPTV, what I have seen before, like there were some testing markets, but after 2 to 3 years in those testing markets, all national telcos were having the IPTV offering, and we are expecting the same with the cybersecurity, and we already seen it. For example, in Lithuania and Serbia, all the major telcos are already offering this security service. So when is a better time than past year? It's right now. Yeah. And then the last thing that I want to connect is relevant brand connection. As I said, to avoid being just utility provider, you can really add naturally this additional service that is smart service as security, and you can create this relevant brand connection. So with your connection, it will be connected means protected. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Michal, for the presentation. If you guys have any questions at this point, you can write them in the chat, and our tech guys will show them to us on the monitor, so we will answer them right away. Thanks for the presentation. I think everything was quite obvious why this framework is helpful and why telcos should follow it. I would stay with this how question for a bit longer, right? So you have a framework, you showed maybe 50 plus checkboxes. So how do you help the telcos actually execute this? First of all, how to prioritize when you have 50 checkboxes? And second of all, how to actually go through each and every activity that's there?
Yes, the framework is nice, but it's just idea. Without execution, it's just an idea, right? It will not help. So yeah, 50 activities. Hard to tell what is enough or too much or too low. But the framework is to really set it in time. So it makes sense for the telco to start with all activities in maturity level 1 when they are starting, because it's just the basics. It's just necessary basic that you have to do in order to then do more advanced activities. So, for example, it doesn't make sense to, from beginning, to employ your field technicians if you haven't yet trained all your sales agents, and you don't, and they don't like understand properly, and they don't have a motivation, so they don't have the bonus schemes for selling the service, right? So, and how we are doing it, basically, the CSM is working with each and every telco on a weekly basis, but each and every quarter there is a quarterly business planning where they just agree on which kind of activities are of interest, and then basically on those weekly meetings they are trying to execute them, and also the CSM is helping to gain support in different divisions across the company. So if it's something about the sales or marketing, providing those deep assets is something that is much easier for those other divisions to understand and see the potential.
Thank you. Clearly, yeah, there are many things to be covered because you have these 4 growth areas, which and each of them needs a bit of a different expertise, right? And that's why you mentioned this expert network, because it's clear that a customer success manager can't be an expert on everything that needs to be done to get a 50+% adoption rate for a telco. But it's a bit abstract still for me. So can you elaborate on what this expert network actually is? How does it work, and how it helps telcos? Are these Whalebone employees, or like how does it work?
Yes. As you mentioned, the CSM is not a Superman, right? So when we are building this framework, I say like so many questions that coming from the telcos, they need like really deep knowledge of the telco. So we were going to find the telco experts that were working in a telco in the past, or are experts in the area. So for example, the customer journeys, there was a classical question that we received from the telcos to really deep dive into it, and we find out the expert that is really great in order to prepare customer journey to go in a very detailed sub journeys, identification of the different user groups that should have a different customer journeys. And this person is working for the Whalebone and really understand the product, and is preparing this deep content. So he also prepares these guidelines that we can share with the telcos. And then if a telco wants to have a even detailed workshop about, for example, customer journeys, but even like market research or customer sales trainings, best practices of ATL marketing, whatever, we are trying to have the expert for each and every area. So we are working on it, and again, based on the demand from the telcos, we are then trying to find the telcos for that particular areas of the most demand.
Right. So I see. So maybe to sum up, if I get it correctly, that the CSM takes care of also of the big picture things, right? And like meets, you said, weekly with the telcos, and then if like an extra expertise is needed, then you ask this external network for
example, telco is planning big about the line campaign regarding the cybersecurity. So the CSM with product manager is planning it for the next quarter. The product manager also inform the marketing on their side, right? And then we bring our guideline for the ATL campaigns, what was successful with examples, and then we can also bring the expert that is marketing expert. It's not customer success manager, but is expert in that particular field.
All right, thank you. One more thing, I think a bit of a general question still. How do they get this framework? Like in what form, when, etc. So I suppose because we saw it as one, like whatever, Google sheet or an Excel sheet, but in what form do they get it, including these assets?
During the onboarding, there is basically evaluation of what should be the initial success based on the targets that the telco is setting up for themselves. And customer success manager is walking through that concept, through that framework, the product manager, and they just set what is the target for the next quarter or for the next half year. And the CSM is explaining from, let's say, high level what is possible. And then with the selected activities, as I said, it's work of experts to experts level.
Because also this is often an issue with frameworks, right? That it's something that you try to apply to, let's say, markets, which can be either little or very different, and there can be a lot of variables. So how does this work? Because of course you can't use the same blueprint, let's say, from a predominantly prepaid market and just apply it on a predominantly postpaid market.
Yeah, it's the reason why the activities are a little bit different, and not all the activities have to be done by each and every telco, right? There is a set of activities that is more relevant for mostly postpaid markets, and other set of activities that are more relevant for mostly prepaid markets. So we see this difference, and we really take each and every telco and their situation on the market, their proposition, their positioning, and also what they are aiming for individually, right? So it's up to the CSM to bring the best practices that are relevant for that market.
So basically the framework itself is general, and then it's modular. So you kind of make it work for each particular case. Perfect. You also mentioned this customer assets portal. I'm curious, can you elaborate on this a bit, or what does it mean for the telco? It was on one of the slides. It was the product manager guide, and then there was this customer assets portal.
Yes. In customer assets or customer content portal, it's a place where we're trying to share all the documents, so it's easy to navigate through them. The product management guideline should be used as a summary of all potential materials, and somehow the way how to orient yourself, where to go if you want to have more detailed information. Then there was also the slides regarding the performance, and again we are trying to show that's on a different, it's management portal, product management portal, where we are showing to the particular telco how they are growing, and whether that growth is above the average, below the average, and then we are also showing the best performing, so they can sense that where they are, right? So if even they are somehow satisfied with the piece of the growth, but then they see that it's possible to make it much faster, then usually we are having those questions, right? What we should do in order to grow as the best performing, or what the guys are doing as they are growing that fast.
Yeah, so this is the graphs that you showed us, right? That there were these circles. I know that the x-axis was the ability to drive business, as you call it. The y-axis was the month-over-month adoption rate, and then the size of the circle, I suppose, was the size of the telco, right?
Yes, size of the telco. So the telcos can somehow see whether the size of the telco is similar. Those are internal. We are thinking about also giving this view into the customer management or product management portal. For now, they can just see the trend lines regarding the growth.
We have a question. I will read it out loud. So thanks for the question, first of all. Thank you for the presentation. I have a question regarding the third pillar, marketing, in the marketing messages, would you recommend to focus on positive features like security and protection, or on negative risks, e.g. what could happen to the customer without the service? What are your experiences? What works better to make the product tangible for the customer? Thanks a lot for the question, Birgit and Michal.
Thank you for the question. I will tell you my opinion, as I'm not a marketing expert, so I can just summarize what we see. It's what we see is working. Usually, we should approach the end customer to create the awareness that there are threats, but not like scare them. Not to show the internet as a really scary place that you should be aware of, and rather not use it, right? So it's about awareness that is, I would say, like natural. It's not positive, it's not negative, it's like neutral. So we're saying is there, you can become a victim because those threat actors are developing the approaches. So I'd rather say neutral in a sense of how we communicate the risk, and then of course be really positive about the benefits of our product or products that we have together, so that it's hassle free, that you don't need to keep it in mind that you have to update the version, that you have to upgrade, that you have to, I don't know, update the signatures or whatever. Like it's automatic, right? And it's automatic thanks to the telco, and it's on a network level. So meaning if you're connected and you have that service, you should be protected.
Maybe I can follow up on this since it was a marketing question. We always tell our customers that the best working strategy is to educate and upsell, and there is no fear mongering in this, right? So for the long-term strategies, they usually go for education, also to position themselves as the cybersecurity experts. That's as you know, to show them their thought leadership, that there's someone who know how it works. And then the upselling part is usually very fast because there's no installation needed, the pricing is reasonable, etc. So we from our experience, it's better not to scare your customers, not to scare them off. I have a couple other questions, but you can still ask more. We still have time for your questions. I wanted to ask that apart from this framework, how do the telcos benefit from our customer success team? If you can maybe try to summarize some other benefits.
The CSM is relationship holder with the product owner. So as I said, a framework is the idea. A framework is something that have to be put in action. So they are actually putting it in action, and it's somehow once it is set up, it's basically not left behind, but it's let's say in a back, somewhere in the back, what we will go to do in the next quarter. But then this week over week work that they have with the CSMs is basically also touching all the possible issues that might appear. Also, if they decided to, for example, upgrade to additional security levels or upper versions of the product, or upgrade the infrastructure, then all those things is covered by the CSM. CSM is basically single point of contact for the telco for any request they have.
And there's another thing, maybe you can elaborate on that, what we call this Whalebone cybersecurity ecosystem, that the telcos also get opportunities to share their know-how one to to one another. If you can elaborate on this and what the benefits are.
Yes, we are trying to share the best practices. So, for example, we are doing those conferences. We are holding the conferences like twice a year for each and every region. So we have this year one conference in Vienna, and then one conference in Sofia just recently, where we are taking all the telcos under no competition rule. So the telcos, they are not from the same market, and those telcos then basically mingle to each other, and also talking directly what is their success, how they what were the challenges. So we don't only present our, let's say, view on it and the condensed view on it, but also the telcos are presenting to the other telcos on those events. We call it telco cybersecurity conferences, and really it's aimed to drive the product, but even like overall cybersecurity topic within the telco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was interesting always to see that they are actually dealing with very similar issues, and they are facing very similar problems. So, of course, the more experience we have, the more valuable the whole ecosystem is for the telcos, which is great. I also wanted to ask you to elaborate on one more thing, and that's this deep content that you mentioned. It's a fun concept, deep content. Can you elaborate what it means? How do you understand deep content?
It's guidelines. Basically, it's a condensate version of the best practices. So if we see something is working on several markets, then really we try to condense it in the content that we can then reuse without revealing the particular telco that was using it. And there we employ those experts, right? So those experts are then having the deep dive, or they are digging deeply into that activity, so they understand. They also bring their own expertise, and they then bring the guideline or bring the model. For example, we have a business case modeling that is quite advanced, and we are able to model the revenues with the telcos, and we did it with many of new telcos just to realize the potential. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And I also wanted to ask, because it seems like it's an ongoing effort for a long time, right? Like you said, it was a push. It needed push activities, not pull activities. So I will have one last question, and then we have another question from Timothy Carpenter. But since I already started, let me ask this question: is there an end game, or reaching like maximum potential success, or like a really best case scenario?
And I remember when I was working with the telco, was like, what is the SIM penetration? And first it was below 100%, and then it was like above. So, so some of the end customers were having multiple SIM cards, right? So in here, I would say, what is the theoretical limit? 100% is reachable. Of penetration, of course, then you have to hard bundle that service with some kind of an offering to reach 100%, and then you can go above, right? You can add additional services, so you're not limited on this enabling. I mean, we call it enabling service, especially for SMBs. You can see that you are having this security on the level of a network, and then you can upsell to additional security products from firewall as a service, endpoint protection, ID protection, and even provide managed security services, even for enterprise managed security services, right? But still, with a connection, you can provide this basic protection, right? For the residential segment, of course, you can also add reselling of additional security layers within us, IDP, insurance that we are preparing, or other. But also you can then resell third-party products, endpoint protection. You can also connect to the offering also physical security, the smart doorbells or smart security cameras. So depending, would you consider it 100% or 120%?
Yeah,
right?
I see. Yeah, but that's the case, right? That you cover the mass market with this, but also you will already have been positioned as a security vendor, as a security expert. So of course, then it opens further doors. Let me read the question from Timothy Carpenter. How does the telco mitigate the risk of being responsible for anything negative that happens to the end customer while being protected by Whalebone? This seems like it could potentially be an exposure to the telco could outweigh the benefit to the telco.
Look, we are never communicating, and we strongly suggest telcos not to communicate that we are protecting customers for 100% of the cases. I also spent 7 years in cybersecurity for one of the major endpoint security vendor. And even there, the communication was not about we are protecting you 100%, right? So still, we are having the opportunity to skip to the blocking page. If the customers do it, then they might actually at the end have a harm to themselves, right? How it is protected. We are thinking about it, and we are preparing the cybersecurity insurance service that as well Telco can then sell to the end customers. So even then, if they are at the end scammed or they just pay to despite blocking and going to that e-shop and they just purchase on a fake e-shop and we can through our insurance partner reimburse them. So there is potential how to also not prevent but also give this layer of a protection and generate additional revenues also out of it.
Yeah, I would say that this is the general problem with security, right? But you will never have a silver bullet, 100% protection. And also, I think it's important or like interesting to know that this has never ever happened. Like we are not aware of this in all of the cases that people would even like complain about this or anything. So it's a very theoretical.
It's theoretical. What I can add to this, we have seen in regards of a marketing or even sales approach, we have seen some telcos that were quite, I would say, considered like aggressive approach. Even though I don't think it's like aggressive, but they were, for example, offering the trials multiple time a year to the end customer or even activating it. And at the beginning, they were scared that it will increase the calls to the customer center and it will increase the number of the complaints. And this is like proven it didn't happen. Even when they were activating like tens of thousands trials to the customers automatically in that particular month, the complaints really linked to activating the cybersecurity, even if I didn't want to, was up to number 5 each and every month. So it was like really nothing. So we see it that the service in general is really convenient for the end customers, and they are not complaining even for let's say a little bit more aggressive activation.
Yeah, from the surveys that we get to see, the customers usually have higher affinity to the telco because they feel like the telco is trying its best to protect them, and they stick to the service, which we know also from the very low churn rates. I think we only have time for the last question. It's already 45, but maybe because you've been doing this for quite some time now, can you maybe share one, let's say, because we really are out of time, one learning that was really interesting for you, something that really surprised you?
What was a little bit surprising for me, because before I knew a lot about the telecommunication business in Western Europe and or in Europe in general, in major countries, they are dominated by the postpaid. So more than 90% of their base is a postpaid customers. And what I was fascinated by is that we are able to find really successful approaches also for the markets. For example, in Asia, Southeast Asia, in LATAM, where it is working also for the telcos that are predominantly postpaid. Of course, it needs a little bit different proposition, different sales and marketing approaches, but it's feasible. Really, regarding the place, we have seen customers are using internet heavily, whether it's Bangladesh, Philippines, or Guatemala, right, or Western Europe. In general, they're spending 6 to 8 hours online, right, a day, and they all need protection. They need to have a feeling of security, so they are willing to pay for it. And we have to be just flexible with the service, so it really fits the market. But for me, it was really amazing to see, like, okay, this might work on completely different market setups.
Perfect. Yeah, this is a very positive note to end this webinar on. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks a lot for being here. Michal, thank you for doing this. Stay tuned. Next time, we will definitely continue with RFP webinars, and next time we will discuss the other part, right? As Michal started the presentation with B2B to C, then next time we will focus on the customer a bit more again. So this is it from us. Thanks a lot. And if you have any further questions, you know, if you have an idea after the webinar is over, feel free to contact us. You will find our contact information at whalebone.io. I'm quite sure that you can also contact Michal directly, and he will be more than happy to answer any requests or questions you might have. So yeah, thanks everybody, and see you soon.